Hello everyone, welcome back to Gaming with Shoggoths. We are here in Zaluki Prehistoric Park in, I almost said Planet Zoo, in Prehistoric Kingdom. And you could probably tell already from the thumbnail, from the title, that the T-Rex won our poll for the next enclosure build for Prehistoric Kingdom. And I actually started building this before I officially, deemed that the poll was closed, because the Torvosaurus was actually doing a pretty good job of keeping up with the T-Rex, much better than I expected. There were times where the T-Rex would be up a vote, and then the Torvosaurus would tie it up, and then be up a vote, so it actually stayed close. It ended up with the T-Rex at 55% and the Torvosaurus at 45%, which is actually a lot better than I thought it would be, or a lot closer, I should say, not a lot better, but a lot closer than I thought the poll would be. So that's kind of cool. The Torvosaurus is not going to be ignored. It will get an enclosure in this park or the next park. I'm not entirely sure if beta parks are going to transfer over to early access or not. I don't think they will, because it's a different save file or a different game file, but I don't know. We'll see about that. But either way, he will get a park, or it will get a park, regardless if it's this park or, in early access, which is only a couple months away. And, sometimes I'm a little surprised by that, because sometimes it feels like there's some things going on with this game that I hope they can get taken care of, like some of the landscaping stuff that happens, along walls and fences and stuff like that. I'm just still kind of But supposedly early access is in April. I only say supposedly because, that's what they keep saying, but they haven't set a date yet, and that's only 2 months away. So we'll see what's going on with that. But we do have an update that's coming for Prehistoric Kingdom. Might as well just throw that in here now. The big news, there's two big things that everyone is sort of focused on, and that's one, that our dinosaurs are going to have dino droppings soon, which I'm all for as far as the realism aspect, but I hope they also give us maintenance or an automatic way of getting rid of it, because if I have to sit there and go and pick up the dino droppings, click on each one and get rid of it while I'm trying to build a park, I might start getting mildly irritated. But, if that comes along with some sort of either zookeeper system, or at just very least being able to set it up so it gets taken care of on a regular basis, that'd be great. The other big one is that the Psittacosaurus looks like it's going to be returning before early access. So that's going to be really cool. I'm glad to have another smaller sized, quote unquote, smaller sized dinosaur in the park. And actually there is another big third part, and that is that they are adding challenge and a dedicated sandbox mode. We're all playing in what is normal storyline mode, but there's isn't a storyline, normal campaign mode. But there's just no campaign, but this is all we have to build in. So we have to deal with the sort of things that you would have to deal with in campaign mode, like money and running out of money, and actually finding the DNA and stuff like that for the dinosaurs, although there are hotkeys that we can use to get around that for now. So eventually we'll have a sandbox and a challenge mode available as well, which is super cool. So yeah, that's the kind of the big Prehistoric Kingdom news. I'm not entirely sure when that is happening. They didn't give a date. They just said soon. And I think they also confirmed it'd be before early access, so it'll still be stuff that comes out in beta. So we'll see, and I'll definitely, keep you guys posted on that stuff. So yeah, as far as the video goes, when I started building this enclosure, I wasn't even sure what I was doing. I was originally planning on this being a pavilion for, some cover from the weather for the people to watch the T-Rexes in their enclosure. But, then I ended up being oh, well, what if I can make it this walkthrough area that was in the middle of a forest, which is eventually there will be a forest around all this. Right now we're just doing gratuitous amount of leaves, which I eventually kind of thin the herd on. But so then I decided that this would be really cool, like just a place that you could walk through or hang out in like later if the weather gets bad or anything like that. That would have like concession stands and just a cool like diorama, as you saw. So that's what this whole area is. It's just a, it's a walk through enclosure area where you can get a bite to eat, get some coffee, get some tea at the T-Rex Cafe, among other things. And then just check out this neat little diorama of T-Rexes about to fight each other. So that's what I did in here. Just decorating with lots of plants and stuff. One thing I'm noticing, like, it's not noticeable in here because everything's more or less, like, proper scale and everything. Like, it's a tall ceiling, but I did a tall ceiling because I wanted to put the, the T-Rexes in here. The statues, I should say, not actual T-Rexes. But like I've noticed, and it's really apparent in the actual T-Rex enclosure that I'm so bad with the scale in this game. Like, it is so... like, I know the dinosaurs are huge, so that also kind of messes things up because, you've got these giant enclosures and these giant buildings that house these dinosaurs, and then you have people, which are much smaller. So, like, the T-Rex area, everything is gigantic. Huge logs that are holding up this big awning and all that stuff, and then like tiny little people walking around. So it's kind of funny, like, but I don't like it only happens when I'm building like natural enclosures. When I'm building stuff like this, like, everything's to human scale because this is all like human stuff, so it ends up looking okay. But then like you mess with the more natural stuff, which is intended to be for the animals, then you're like, oh my god, like this whole area is huge. So I don't know, I might try scaling it down. I'm not sure, but so this is the T-Rex Cafe. It's got a cafe and the snack shop, whatever it is. I don't think it's a kangaroo, but I always want to call it a kangaroo, whatever the mascot is for that snack shop. But yeah, so that's like, and it does look kind of weird, like just sitting out there in the middle of nowhere. But once everything gets built around it, I think it looks pretty cool. I also changed the color. I went very brown for this one. So what I was doing here is originally I was just messing around and I was going to make a trailer, like, like a transportation trailer, an animal trailer, that kind of thing. And I was just going to have it so I could take like a screenshot or some pictures, to either put up on the channel or to use as like, a thumbnail, and it was, I was making it big enough that the T-Rex would fit in it and just make it look like it was being like delivered from like, wherever it was hatched and grown to the enclosure. And then I decided I was just going to keep it like in the enclosure. So what it ends up looking like is like they were putting the T-Rex into the enclosure, and then they were like, that, they're putting it in and something goes wrong and maybe the T-Rex breaks out of it like sooner than they wanted to. Kind of like with the raptor, in the original Jurassic Park. And, so it ends up like falling into the enclosure, and they're just like, you know what? We'll just build around it. You keep that there. It looks cool. And we'll just build around it because we don't want to deal with this angry T-Rex right now. So that's kind of like the deal here. Eventually it will be kind of like sitting cattywampus in the enclosure and hanging out. I had smoke coming off of it for a long time that I thought about. I was like, there's no reason for an animal trailer to have smoke coming off of it. So I did eventually take it off. But yeah, I mean, this is a very rudimentary, and it like wasn't hugely detailed because I originally wasn't planning on keeping it in the enclosure. It was just going to be like a promotional shot, so to speak. And I was just messing around while I was trying to think of how I wanted the enclosure to be. So I was trying to make sure the T-Rex would fit. And the way I have it, like, you'll see it's like tilted into the enclosure, and then it looks like the hay is like spilling out. And the T-Rexes do occasionally, in fact, I think I probably have it at the beginning of this video, if I recall. But they do actually go and like sleep over there sometimes, so that's kind of cool. It's getting used. They can't get in it, because if they could get in it, they could get out. But it works though. I don't know. Like I thought it looked too plain, so I was like, how could I screw with this? So these are like roll bars, I guess. If it falls over, tips over, I don't know. Keeps the top from crushing. Yeah. in on itself, I guess. I was amazed that there's like little end caps and stuff. I think I redid this like 4 or 5 times. Probably should have edited that out, but. Oh, and speaking of Jurassic Park, at the time that I am doing this voiceover, the Jurassic Park or the Jurassic World Dominion trailer just dropped maybe like 2 hours ago. Like that's the first thing I saw when I woke up. So that's cool. I don't think it was expected to drop this early, so that's nifty. It was really cool. Like I was actually surprised. Like I didn't get like I wasn't like emotional, but like I was surprised that it really did kind of like kind of get the memories and the nostalgia going, because I was like 11 when I'm letting you guys know how old I am. I was like 11 when the original Jurassic Park came out, and my grandfather took me to see it like late at night on the first day that it came out. So that was really cool. So that's, just any, see what I mean by a terrible judge of scale in this game? Like, did you see how big that was compared to that T-Rex? And it's still pretty big, but you want a T-Rex to have as little chance of escaping as possible. But yeah, so I really liked the Dominion trailer, and I thought it was pretty. I won't go into it too much since this is not a Jurassic Park video, but I was really happy to see all those new additions that have feathers, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, so that was nifty thing to wake up to this morning. So if you notice when I made that circle, I've always found it like so much easier to do things like that if you put a path down in the shape that you want. Like, and I know with the fencing it doesn't look perfect right here, but it's gonna go through plenty of changes. If you notice those little pieces of the thing staying behind, I don't know why that happens. They did go away, but it wouldn't let me delete them. But the next time I saved and then closed the game and restarted it, they went away. So that's kind of a little buggy thing that's going on. I really wanted it to seem like the river was the source of this waterfall right here. But I'm pretty sure I took it out of the video, but like there was a lot of like not being able to get the right height and everything, and it not looking right. So I ended up not going with that, and it's kind of more like it's a artificial waterfall that's coming off those rocks. But here's our cage. I like the fact that things just very easily meld through each other in this game. Makes my life a whole bunch easier. Although eventually I do change the fencing around, so it looks a little different. But yeah, so this is like where the trailer like slid in, and the dinosaur was like, "Wah!" I don't know. It's just silliness. I just wanted something else to be in in the enclosure, and that's what I ended up going with. My waterfall skills need improvement. Like, it'll look better later, but I realized like at one point that like I just had water like floating out in the middle of nowhere. I have big problems with scale in this game. Scale and depth of field, and I don't know what it is, but like, or depth perception, I should say. I don't know what it is. Another little thing I kind of messed up, I built way too close to the edge of the map, so I had some problems with like sculpting the land, which ended up leading to like one side of the enclosure looking a little lesser because I couldn't add details and stuff because I was right there on the edge of the map, which I didn't realize at the time because I don't pay attention. Which anyone who knows me in real life can tell you that this is absolutely true and not just something that happens in video games. But yeah, I definitely like wanted, like, I understand the point of those big gnarly metal fences, but you can't see through them at all. Like if that's what I had to look through to see any dinosaur, I would be disappointed. Making good use of prefabs there. That'll get some more editing like later. But that cave, that little cave is pretty small. Like it's more like Protoceratops size. But yeah, you scale it up, and I just added more rocks around it and stuff to make it look like it was like built into the wall of the enclosure, and there you go. Done and done. The rock colors go through a lot of changes in this. I ended up going very brown. Although now that I'm looking at it, I kind of wish I'd stayed with the white. But, you know, what can you do? Oh yeah, that's what I was originally talking about. Is yeah, it's just looking through those gnarly metal fences. Yeah, they're strong and all that stuff, but that doesn't really do it for me. So I was like, we definitely need to have like glass that you can look through, and we'll just assume this is very, very, very the finest, spared no expense, strong glass that the T-Rexes can't break out of, and then it's reinforced by all those rocks. But you know, that's a design that I'm totally it's a much larger scale, but like the zoo, my local zoo has a lot of enclosures like that, especially with the predators, where you go into a building and the whole building is like rocks and cave like and stuff like that, and then the glass has rocks around it, and you look out into the enclosure of the animals, which is, you know, suited to their needs and all that stuff. So, you know, I'm just taken from that. Like, it's very, what I did with the glass and the rocks over there on that side of the cage is very reminiscent of the lion enclosure that we have at my zoo, my local zoo, and it's very natural looking, like where you watch them from. So it's like you're watching them from inside of their habitat. It looks pretty cool. So that was kind of my inspiration for that. It looks actually a lot more like that right there, the glass that's over the waterfall, except no waterfall. But that, where it's just it's small panes of glass, and you can look through it and see the lions from various positions in the enclosure. So this is that, just on a much, much bigger scale. And we're just getting some plants in here. Now the plants and these planters and the fencing and stuff originally was going to go around the whole thing. But like I said, I built too close to the edge of the map. And apparently it's very fussy about being that close to the edge of the map. And I don't know if that's intended or not. I sent it in as a bug report, like, just in case. But I don't know. I mean, it's understandable if it is. So this is the T-Rex domain, and as you can see, it kind of does stretch. I'll probably put the Torvosaurus nearby, but not quite in the domain. And then they also have a Tarbosaurus, which is, you know, T-Rex cousin. And I'll probably have that maybe in the T-Rex domain, like in another enclosure, and then have the Torvosaurus. Maybe on the other side of the park, because we have very few, Metasaurus. Keep thinking about Jurassic Park all day. We have, you know, only 3 carnivores, like strict carnivores. So, yeah. So maybe I'll have the Torvosaurus on the other side of the park, just stretch it out a little bit. Because there's, like, nothing on the other side of the river that I built where the Camarasaurs are. So this is basically just decorating the entrance area. Making a sign. It's not that great of a sign. I wish we had more sign options, like backboards that were specifically for sign making and more text and stuff like that. But, you know, I mean, I feel like that kind of stuff will come in the future, whether it comes from the game devs themselves or like I love how I just like sit there and look at it, because I mean, I knew it was slanted, but I was trying to figure out like how slanted it was so I could fix it. But I imagine that there will be more added in development, but also I'm thinking we'll probably get text made by players and stuff like that, because players are already sharing like their little prefab like statues and stuff like that, and different like decorations. So I imagine like that kind of stuff will come in the future. Basically, just, you know, decorating, adding the forest area, and I started off with like individually placed trees and plants and stuff that as I want them to be placed, and then I go through and delete everything that kind of gets into the path. I feel like that's the best way to get it down when you use the brush, and then you don't have to worry too much. You can just individually delete things as you see fit. And then afterwards, I'll just come in with the big redwood brush and just paint in a thicker forest on the sides. I don't think it's on this part of the video I think I took it out just because for length, like some of the decorating I took out of the video. But there, I do end up putting Edmontosaurus statues throughout the forest area. And I did that because, you know, since it is the T-Rex domain, you know, this is the T-Rex's area. I was like, well, that, you know, I mean, that's something that the T-Rex might have feasted on depending on where it was, you know, which area it was in. So I thought it would be interesting to have like some Edmontosaurus like kind of sticking their heads out through the trees, like looking. And there's even one that looks like, you know, it's calling out. And so it's all like, oh, stop, don't come this way. There's a predator, you know. So you got like these Edmontosaurus that will be within the trees over here, and you'll see that in the video. I'll show that in the walkthrough area. But now I'm just trying to make some like weather cover for the peeps and just decorate this area a little bit. Like a lot of the decoration I did off camera again for the length of the video's sake. Like some of the stuff that, you know, the easiest, like putting down a plant. Everyone knows how to put down a plant, you know, so you don't really need to watch me put down 50 plants, individual plants. It's unnecessary. But yeah, I'm just making an awning pavilion type thing. I do end up setting up like these little blank backdrops on there that, like, if this were a, you know, like a zoo, I would, or if we had more information, more stuff, more props, I would have it be like an information block, and you'll see that in a minute. But this is the entrance. I'm talking over it. There was an Edmontosaurus back there that we just passed. I really like how this area turned out. Like, of the whole T-Rex domain, this is my favorite part, like the forest. Because I love trees and plants and being enclosed in trees, like having them over me all the time. Like the forest looks really, like it just looks like a forest. It looks like an old prehistoric forest, and I was really happy with how it turned out. This is our guest area. T-Rex is duking it out for king or queen of the T-Rex domain. There's another Edmontosaurus being like, wait, use caution. T-Rexes are around here. Restroom. Got a shop. Didn't really change much on the shop this time. I just changed kind of the color scheme to fit with all the brown. Might have gone overboard with the brown on this one. I don't know. There's another Edmontosaurus coming to see the people. And there's one right up there before you get into the area. So as you can see, the rocks and the enclosures are ginormous compared to the people. But, I mean, it's not that much bigger than the T-Rex. Like, you obviously wouldn't want a T-Rex with an enclosure that it only comes up to its head, you know. So, these are our Rexies. And then I did the mural back there. I made some like statues, and those little white spots that I was talking about, like that would be like where you'd have information about the T-Rexes if we had that sort of stuff readily available, or video screens like in Planet Zoo. But that's yeah, that's basically it for this speed build and enclosure. As always, I appreciate you checking out my video. If you're new around here, consider subscribing, leaving a like, saying hello. I love to hear from you guys. And yeah, thanks for taking a look, and I will be back with more Prehistoric Kingdom real soon. Until then, have a good one.